All right, so the first thing we're gonna do here, I have a Regency F5200 wood stove, and there's the manual. So if you open it up, any wood stove you buy is gonna come with a manual. It's gonna come with clearances for residential, mobile home, and it gives you diagrams with the letters and the standoff. So if we look at the stove here, B, which is from the back of the stove to the wall, come down here, is 10 inches. So we have more than enough standoff here where I have my stove. From the back to my wall is a little over 16 inches. And the standoff, I'm using double wall pipe, so you can use single wall or double wall. With the height that I have to go up, that's 18 feet to the top of the ceiling there. I wanted to use double wall just because it's a little bit more rigid. And then the standoff for that pipe to any combustibles is 8 inches. So I made sure that we're good with our mantle here, so that it'll be far enough away from our stovepipe. And to be honest with you, you need to follow these instructions, but for this to catch fire, I mean, I would have to overheat this stove like nobody's business. So, but just make sure you read your manual, you look at your standoffs, and then on top of that, depending on where you live in this country, there might be additional requirements by your local government. So just make sure you stand off that. So I have my stove set where I want it, and it's within all the standoffs. I have concrete floor. I did a hearth just to kind of define that space, so I have no problem with combustibles on the floor. I have a Rosetta Stone wall, so that's not combustible. And then I have wood shiplap ceiling. So let's go ahead and get started. Stove set in place. There's a couple ways you can find where you need to cut your hole in the ceiling. You can use a plumb bob. I'm going to use my laser level. I'm going to set my laser level here on the top where the pipe comes out, get it where I want it, and then I'm going to find that laser will put a dot up there, and it will give me the location of the center of my hole, and we'll get it cut out. I'm using a Stabila LAR 350 laser level, and when you turn this on, a plumb laser shoots straight up. This is a self-leveling laser, so I'll get it set up here. All right, guys, so I have this centered on the exhaust of the wood stove. So now we're going to turn it on, and that laser is going to self-level. And once it's self-leveled, it'll start spinning. And I don't know if you can see it. I'll zoom in with the other camera, but it's located right up there. There are a few different types of supported chimneys. I am doing a ceiling supported chimney, and what that means is the double wall will be supported at the ceiling, and then my Class A stainless pipe will be also supported on that. And I'm using a round support box. It's just what we like. So my Class A will hook in on this side, locks in, and then my double wall will connect up to here. So I'll figure out what this dimension is right here, get a hole cut, because after we get all this installed, this trim piece will be on the ceiling, and we'll trim that all out and make it look really nice. It's about like 14 inches. So I need a 14-inch round hole. So I'll take that mark up there, and I'll measure out 7 inches around the entire thing, and then we'll get our hole cut, and then make sure everything is supported up there with bracing, and we have a way to screw this in, because this will face down like that, and then in each of those 4 holes it'll be screwed somehow into a ceiling joist, and I will probably have to add framing for that. See, I just used a large speed square to mark my hole. Now I just have to drill a hole and cut this out. Now you can see from my nails in this wood ceiling, I have a ceiling joist here and a ceiling joist here. All right, we're up in the attic now. Just got done cutting my hole. And so now we're gonna put bracing in this way, and then I'll measure for a crossways. And then we can get that bottom trim mounted. All right guys, here is a main ceiling joist, and then here is a main ceiling joist. So you can see I just boxed a 2x4 in. I X'd my plastic, so my plastic isn't, it's still over this entire area. So I got all that screwed in. Now my transition piece will slide up through here and screw in to these 2x4s, and that's what supports the pipe going down to the wood stove and supports the pipe going up to the roof. This is the insulation shield. I mean, I kind of already have a, a boxed in area. We'll put this, it'll fit right down into that box I made, and then you can either nail it or screw it to secure it there. So there's our transition piece, all mounted. 6 down 3 inches from the ceiling. A trim piece will come up and come way out here. And then my double wall pipe will get hooked into here. And my Class A stainless will slide down here, and then up in here my insulation barrier will get attached. You can see the spray foam all up in there. So this is all sealed, and this is my plastic that runs across. I brought it around and stapled it. And then it's taped, and then that's all filled with spray foam all around the outside of this. So this is all sealed. Now we can go ahead and put our trim piece on, and then we'll go down to the stove and work our way up. All right, so the first piece that's gonna go on is a stove top adapter. Most stoves have to have this. It allows you to put your double wall pipe on there. The adapter is on. Now we're going to start putting our links of double wall stovepipe, and like I said before, if you look at your pipe, it'll tell you which way the air is supposed to flow. And then there's 3 screws that go on. So we're going to work our way from the bottom up to the top. There's 2 4-footers, a 1-footer, and then an adjustable Alright guys, so this is the last section of pipe, and this is the bottom one, so this will slide on over the top pipe. And this is called a telescoping pipe. It's adjustable, I think, from 48 to 64. You can get different lengths to fit what you need. But if you look at the underneath here, this will slide down over this and go all as far as I want in. So I'll slide this down far enough to get below where I hook to the ceiling, and then I'll screw in the bottom, and then I will pull this up so it will seat in that top piece. All right, we have the pipe all up, and we had two 48-inch pieces, a 1-foot piece, and then we had a telescoping, I think it was 48 to 64 inches. And I was debating where to put that short piece, and I ended up putting it on top of the two 48s, and we don't like it, so we're gonna take it off. I know we already have this all up there and it's really nice and straight, but we're gonna take it off and put it at the top, and I think it'll look a little bit better. All right guys, so we switched that out. It looks real nice. So let's just kind of recap real quick. At the bottom here, we have the stovepipe adapter, which attaches to the outlet of the stove. Then you install your single wall or double wall pipe. You'll have your telescoping piece that you can slide into your ceiling support. So the actual ceiling support is the piece that went through the ceiling. Then you got your ceiling trim, and then there's an adapter that attaches that your stovepipe actually goes into. So you can see each piece of pipe has 3 screws. All right, now that we have the inside part from the stove to the ceiling done, we'll go ahead, go up into the attic and continue installing this pipe from the ceiling out through the roof. All right guys, we have our laser level set back up on the top of our stove. Now we're gonna climb up and mark that. Crazy part about this attic, it's a 512 roof pitch, so it is extremely high here. So I'm gonna have to build like a ladder up these trusses to get up there to work. But I can just stand on this for now and mark that spot so I know where the center is. And it looks like it's gonna be close to that purlin, but I think we're gonna be all right. We will see shortly. We are going through a metal roof. So here is the rubber flashing for that. This can go all the way up to 14 inches in diameter. We have our Class A pipe, which I have 2 5-footers and a 4-footer to get me to where I need to go. And I'm constructing this heat shield. This heat shield gives a 1-inch standoff, and then you allow for another 1 inches from your plywood or framing or anything else to give you the required 2-inch standoff from combustibles. It comes with a adjustable shield, so you figure out basically what the outside diameter of your pipe is, and then there's a chart, and you can adjust this to 2 inches larger. This is 12 inches because the outside diameter of my pipe is 10 inches. There, it comes with 4 of these bars. You bend that little tab over, it slides on, and then you rotate the other tab over. And then you just evenly space them throughout. Kind of what I do is I get them in place, and then I run Like that side's got 4 sheet metal screws because I ran it through where these, where I locked this shield together. But I'll put a sheet metal screw through the top and the bottom just to hold it in place. So I have this adjusted to where I need it. Then once this pipe is through the roof, this will slide, hopefully slide over. Should be kind of snug. So it'll slide over, and then I can position this so the roof is right in the middle. Alright guys, so what I've done here is I've recreated the pitch of the roof. This board is 3 feet. From here to there is 3 feet. So this is a 5/12 roof pitch, so every 12 inches it rises 5 inches. I got it blocked up 15 inches. And that allows me to kind of figure out my hole, because you're not going to have a perfect circle hole when you're cutting it through a roof. It's going to be an oval. And so this helps me do this down on the ground instead of doing it up in the attic. And I know if I cut this where I have it marked, I'm going to get my additional inch that I need, and I'll have a 2-inch standoff. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cut out, then I'll go up in the attic and see where I need to trim this, where it's going to lay in between those ceiling joists, or the purlins. Alright, now I'll go up in the attic and see what it looks like up there and where I need to cut this. And it's kind of hard to explain, but like there might be ceiling joist or a purlin here, or it might be up here, so I got to figure out where I need to cut this and then put my 2x4s in. This is a steel roof with no wood sheathing, so it's a pro rib steel. The ribs are 9 inches on center. There's no wood sheathing, so I have to, or I don't have to, but what I do is I make a piece so when I screw this flashing in, it's going into solid wood all the way around. Alright guys, so the next piece will go through the roof, and literally all you do is set, this is the top, but you set that other piece, it sits over this edge, and you can see these little locking tabs. You twist it maybe 1 inch and it locks it down. The wood piece I made screwed up there, and then I can cut a hole in the metal and finish all that up there. Alright, so you can see, got the plywood up there. Now I can just knock a hole, go up on the roof, and I can cut this out, you know, based on this wood. I can just line up my metal with this and we should be good to go. And then that way when I screw my rubber seal through, it hits wood all the way around. I know that this fits. I did a test fit. here. Hopefully I can slide it up once I get this piece on. I can get that up there. All right. Six foot, or 5 foot, 4 foot, and then another 5 foot on here. And then we got our shield. So we got an inch air gap there, and then another inch air gap between the plywood and this sleeve here. So I got these brackets fastened on. You can see they kind of jut up and over, and that's 1 inch. So that, as long as you can get that little piece there between your plywood and your shield, you have your 2-inch standoff, which you can see I have a little more on all of them. I have 3 on total, 1 over here. So that's all secured in there. All right, so we got a cut on this line right here. Got this all up around there. Next we'll put our butyl tape on here. Make sure that's good and sealed. Get this all screwed down all the way around. And then we will slide this collar down over this to protect this area right here. Alright guys, we have all of the screws in around. We siliconed around the rubber. Now we're going to put this secondary flashing on. This is the counter flashing that will seal this. You have to use high temp sealant along here. But the thing I don't like about these is they just sit there and they don't fasten. So I make little brackets. I screw them to this heat shield. Then we slide this down. And then I'll run a screw in through here into that bracket, and that holds it down and holds that steady. Then when I seal this with the heat resistant silicone, this doesn't move around a lot. So I don't have any of that. I've got to get some tomorrow. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this screwed on here, and then I will seal that off tomorrow. I've got cap on. It just sits in the groove and twists on. See me in the reflection. Got all these screws covered in high temp silicone, all the gaps, and most importantly, this seam right here is all siliconed. This is a steel roof, and you know, probably the worst thing about a steel roof is having to cut and seal penetrations in the roof. As awful as these rubber boots are to put on with all the screws and everything, they really do seal well, and I've had really good luck with no leaks. But this is one of those things that once a year you should get up, check to make sure everything's still in good shape, the seals are still in good shape, the caulk is still in good shape, and just verify. Maybe get up in your attic and make sure that there's no visible leaks or deterioration in any of the wood or anything like that. With that being said, I think we're going to have a good life on this. I will check it once a year. I got to get up here to clean the chimney anyway once a year, so it'll be a perfect time to check to make sure that everything's holding up good. But all right, real quick before I go, a couple things I want to mention about the pipe up on the roof. There are some requirements for how far that pipe needs to come out of the roof depending on where it is located. So it's got to be a minimum of 3 feet out of the roof. I'm really close to the peak, so I'm 2 feet above the peak. But if you're further down from the roof, there is measurements you have to take. Your manual, most manuals will show you that. Otherwise, you can find that information on the internet. And depending on how far down the roof you are and how much snow you get, you might want to build a snow and ice diverter. I am 2 feet from the peak of my roof, so I don't believe or feel that I really need one, and maybe I'll find out different. So just keep that in mind if you're in an area where there's lots of snow and ice buildup on your roof and your chimney's down the roof a little ways, and you have a metal roof especially, you want to build a diverter to keep that ice and snow from hitting that rubber boot, because if you get a jagged piece of ice, it can tear that boot and now you have leaks. So as always, we appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, do us a favor, hit the bell for notifications, and we will catch you on the next video.